Should you ever upgrade your practice's retirement plan? When? Why? All sorts of questions. My guest today works with practice owners on financial planning and insurance, including retirement, including these questions. A couple of ironic things are going to come up in this episode, but he's going to help us figure it all out. I'm Carl White, principal at Market Advisory Group, which is a healthcare marketing agency, and I'm also the host of Practice Care. The mission for both is the same, and that's to help private practice owners stay private. It's usually what they want, but care is better when it's the provider of care who owns the practice as opposed to anybody else, because no matter what decisions got to get made, clinical, business, whatever it might be, has to be made by the same people who have to turn right around and take care of a patient. So we can at least rest assured that the needs of a patient are always top of mind. My guest today is Drew Powers. Drew is the founder of Powers Financial Group, which is a registered investment advisor. He specializes in advanced insurance and investment strategies for doctors. Drew is 100% independent, which means he doesn't work with any investment or insurance company, and that means he's able to give unbiased advice that is most beneficial for his clients. Drew started his career in 2001 as a market maker on the Chicago Board Options Exchange, where he managed trading portfolios comprising hundreds of equity and equity index option listings. In 2008, he transitioned to the role of financial advisor and investment advisor representative, where he helped clients develop individual financial strategies. At Powers Financial Group, Drew leverages his stock and options trading expertise with his financial advising experience to help clients increase and protect their wealth. Drew lives in Naperville, Illinois, with his wife and their two kids. He's an avid downhill skier, active in youth sports, a proud Rooster within the Naperville Jaycees, and he's passionate about CrossFit and the Paleo Primal Lifestyle. Drew, you've been on here many times. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me again, Carl.
Yeah, it's you deal with things that are way more complicated than I think they need to be, which might be a super naive statement. But what I've always liked is you're like the first advisor I've met where by the time you're done explaining something, I say to myself, I actually got it that time. You can just get lost in the
Yeah.
weeds. So maybe we're taking on the mother of all topics. Maybe not, but I don't know, a pretty big one. Practices retirement plan, when you should upgrade it or change it. And upgrading could mean even adding one. Regardless, we're going to get into that. But tell us a bit more about you, Powers Financial Group. It's a pretty good bio, but fill in some gaps.
I was going to say there's not much left to add to that long bio. Um, I work primarily with medical and dental professionals.
Mm-hmm.
I work with a handful of attorneys, and my clients are typically practice owners
Mm-hmm.
who have high current incomes, who have a high, current current year tax liability,
Mm-hmm.
and they need to be protecting those incomes, as I like to say, from injury, illness, and the IRS
Mm-hmm.
and the
The three
employer
I's.
sponsored.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And the
I3
employer,
protection, IQ protection. Yes.
well, and the employer sponsored retirement plan is all part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So listeners, Drew's got a few other episodes with us, one of which is around insurance.
Hmm.
Please listen to it for all the bad rap that you hear about different forms, particularly of life insurance. There's more to the game. Drew does a particularly good job of explaining it. So when it gets to income protection and taxes, check that one out. But let's get on to this. So retirement plan, your practice's retirement plan. Let's just start with the basics. What
Hmm.
are the options that are available to practice owners when it comes to retirement plans?
So we, of course, have individual IRAs,
Hmm.
which you could have regardless of what's in your
True.
practice or not,
Hmm.
right? So this is always available to everyone at all times. And I think this will become important later on in the
Yeah, that's
conversation
on
when we
the
start talking
personal
about,
side, like you as
right,
the individual. Yeah. Okay.
right.
Hmm.
And maybe I'll just take it from the order of least prepared to maybe most prepared, right?
Okay.
There's state mandated retirement plans.
Yes, we are in Illinois. That's a few years
Mhm.
old now, where it's
It's a few years old.
you have to
And
have one if you have a minimum of X number of employees, and it's
right,
yeah.
right. And maybe the practice and in your state, maybe you're not mandated to have one, but they are coming for you,
Hmm.
right? These things are just going to become ubiquitous. There's 20 states, I think, right now, 20-ish.
Hmm.
There's another 20 to 25 who have pending legislation or committee or however these things, how
Hmm.
do we become a bill at the state level, right?
Hmm.
Uh, you know, it's going to happen. And so you could have the state mandated retirement plan, which
Hmm.
again is going to be some sort of IRA based plan.
Sure. Yeah.
Then we have the couple of the more commonly known um, business IRA type setups, right? The simple IRA and the
Hmm.
SEP IRA.
SEP.
And
Okay.
yes, the simple is anything but simple,
Yeah, you were
right?
telling me before we started recording, and I was like, oh my God, that's
Right.
one of
Right.
life's little juicy ironies, right? It's just good
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were just trying to come up with a nice acronym,
I think
and
that's right.
instead, one of the most complicated retirement plans ever is called the simple.
Hmm.
And everybody knows about the SEP, which is fine if you're completely solo and you don't have any other W-2 employees. But once you do have W-2 employees and you're required now to make some kind of contribution, the SEP kind of loses its shine.
Okay.
It really becomes onerous. And then we've got the 401k.
Hmm.
And on top of that, most people will have a profit sharing plan,
Okay.
right? And then, of course, there's defined benefit plans. A lot of people talk about a cash balance plan because it's probably the most simple off the shelf solution for that.
And that's like what we would, what used to be called the pension, right? The company pension.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. The
Yeah.
good old,
Exactly that.
can't find
Yep.
them anymore, hard to find pension.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly.
Okay. Um, Pros and cons of these, just to kind of set the table. Because then
Sure.
we're coming to, all right, if you've got one, when do you add one, state mandated aside? How do you migrate amongst them, triggers, etc.
Right. I think that the pros and cons have really changed over the last handful of years
Hmm.
so that maybe the old rules of thumb no longer apply.
Okay.
And so I'll just let the cat out of the bag right now.
Hmm.
It's very rare that I'm talking to a practice owner and we open anything but a 401k.
Wow.
So
Okay.
we already discussed the simple IRA.
Hmm.
I could get into the weeds, but depending on how many employees you have,
Hmm.
how much of a match you decide to give,
Hmm.
how much you're required to give, your you and your employees could be subject to one of six contribution limits.
How simple is that? I get
It's
why they call it the
right,
simple IRA. I
so
mean,
completely
only
simple.
six. I was expecting
Only
a double
six,
digit. Yeah.
right?
Sign me
So
up. I'll take
right,
two.
right. So there's different contribution limits. There's different catch-up opportunities. And some of it is based on your age and some of it is based on how big your employer is and some of it is based on how much that employer decides. Do they do the minimum or do they do an extra percent above the minimum? It's crazy.
Okay.
Why even I am done talking about it.
Yeah. Done.
I don't
Simple,
even want
you're
to do
out.
it.
Good. Gone.
And the simple is all immediately vested. So, what I want to get to also is, the questions maybe we should be asking ourselves before I continue. How much money do you, the doctor, want to put away?
Hmm.
How much are you willing to be forced to give to your employees?
Hmm.
How much freedom would you like to be able to give to your employees?
Freedom in terms of how much they
Well,
put
freedom
in.
like I could give you more this year, but I'm not required to.
Got it. Okay.
Right? Do you want to use your retirement plan as a long-term retention tool?
Hmm.
And in that case, right, the simple only does so much and it's way too complicated, so I say forget it,
Okay.
right? We can move to the SEP IRA, the self-employed pension IRA.
Okay.
Um, this one is a percentage based. If you were 100% solo, and you have no W-2 employees,
Okay.
then maybe this is a good option
Okay.
because you've got the same contribution limits as a 401k and
Hmm.
profit sharing plan, right? So you can get up into those $70,000 a year contributions.
Okay.
The problem is the minute you have employees who are benefits eligible, you have to pay them the exact same percentage you pay yourself.
Oof. Which
So
you
if you're
might want to, but you might not want to.
well, Right. I don't know that many doctors who are looking to give their employees 20 to 25%
Hmm.
inside their retirement plans. And that is not coming from the employee. That's coming from you.
From you. Wow.
That's your employer match. In fact, in a SEP, there is no employee deferral or employee contribution. It's all employer contributions. So even then, you're forced to put in a lot more. You're not giving your employees don't have any skin in the game.
Hmm.
And really they're not doing anything. I just don't feel like it's as attractive.
Hmm.
And once we get into that number and that you're forced to put in that number,
Hmm.
I think we're better off now moving to the 401k.
But you could put that much in if you wanted to anyway.
Right, right,
Okay.
which you always have the option to do.
Okay.
The other part of SEP and Simple, you'll notice they are called SEP IRA, Simple IRA.
Hmm.
Those are going to mess you up if you are trying to do a backdoor Roth conversion every year.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure most everybody is familiar with the backdoor Roth
Pretend we're
conversion,
not,
but
because I will tell you,
right,
I've looked at it a number of times, and I maybe I'm just overthinking it because I think I get what it is, but I'm not exactly
right.
sure I get what it is.
So let's take a person with absolutely zero IRA balances,
Okay.
but you've got a 401k available to you at work, right? And let's just take a W-2 employee
Hmm.
at a major hospital.
Okay.
You've got a 401k that you're participating in. You make way too much money. You hit the limits where you make too much money to contribute directly to a Roth IRA.
Right.
And you've hit a limit where you can always contribute to a traditional pre-tax IRA,
Hmm.
okay? But you can't deduct it after a certain point because you've made too much money.
Right.
Well, so now the pre-tax of pre-tax IRA doesn't apply to you.
Doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
So what could we do? That person who has no other IRA assets, you can make a non-deductible contribution to your IRA.
Hmm.
Then immediately convert it to a Roth IRA
Hmm.
with zero tax consequences. You didn't get a tax deduction on the way in. There's nothing to pay taxes on. And now what have you done? You've you've backdoored your way into a Roth IRA contribution. It is absolutely kind of like the simple plan, one of the dumbest things that occur in our tax code. Why? And the IRS gave this their blessing in 2018. They said, we've never had a problem with the non-deductible IRA into a Roth conversion. We just don't like you calling it a backdoor Roth IRA conversion. We
I don't
don't
like
like the
how that
backdoor
sounds.
part.
And so,
And yet that's what everybody knows it as. So that's
right.
what I'm going to continue to call it.
Yeah. And there's no income limits and there's no, wow.
Right? This is how you get around the whole income limits of the Roth IRA. Now, where does this become sticky? Let's say you have pre-tax IRA balances,
Hmm.
and now you go and you make that non-deductible contribution
Hmm.
and you convert. Well,
Now you pay tax. Yeah.
you can't just convert the non-deductible post-tax part. You have to convert equal amounts
Yeah.
proportionally.
Yeah.
And so now what you end up doing is, you've got 100 grand in a traditional IRA or a SEP IRA or a simple IRA.
Hmm.
You decide you want to get some Roth money, so you put in, 5 grand of non-deductible, and then you go and you try to convert that 5 grand. Well, only 5% is tax-free. The other 95% is taxable. Because they're going to say, no, you can't cherry pick the conversion. You have to take some from the taxable bucket and some from the non-taxable
So would you
bucket
just open
in
up
equal
another IRA?
proportions.
Would you just open up
No,
another
because
traditional?
all of your IRAs are counted as one IRA. This is called the pro rata rule, right? So
Okay.
the other thing is, for most of our doctors who are, in savings mode here,
Hmm.
they want to be able to contribute to their retirement plan, and they want to do that extra 7, 8 grand into that Roth conversion
Sure.
plan, the backdoor Roth IRA. And a SEP and a simple are going to mess up that calculation every time.
Okay. Are there any advantages of the separates just to get it out there, not to defend them? Are they
Yeah,
better on taxes? Are they better like because
no,
they're out there
no
and people
better on
use them?
taxes. Right.
Okay.
The administration is much easier.
For a SEP and a simple
Yep,
than a
yep.
401k. Okay.
Right. When you get into the 401k world, you have notices that you have to put out. There's testing. There's other administrative tasks that need to be done
Hmm.
that don't exist in the simple and the SEP.
Okay.
However, um, the cost of that administration has come down dramatically. 401ks used to be a pretty expensive proposition.
Okay.
And so people said, well, that's so expensive. You're a small employer. Do the SEP, do the simple. It'll be easier for you and less expensive. Anymore, I think the 401k is cost effective,
Yeah.
maybe more so than a SEP and simple.
Because
Because
just the
as an advisor,
mhm.
I would charge far more for a simple plan than I ever would for a 401k plan because it's so difficult.
Mm, wow.
Right? And so when you start adding in those costs, you start adding in the difficulties with Roth conversions, whatever additional administrative cost is on the 401k side starts to bring those plans more
Got
into
it.
kind of cost balance.
Okay. What do you say to somebody who maybe started with a simple or a SEP and then they've grown? Can they just stop contributing to that and open up a 401k if they wanted to do that? Like they start getting employees, you can do
Yeah,
that?
yep,
Okay.
within some limits. There, simples and maybe a SEP, right? There's some kind of a 2 year limit where it has to be open for 2 years before you can roll it
Okay.
into something else. But
Oh,
for
I wasn't
most
even thinking of
people,
rolling it. I was just thinking you could leave it there and then say, I don't like this anymore. My needs have changed.
right? And
Okay.
most of the time, I think you would close that plan. You would have everybody roll it over to an IRA, roll
Okay.
it up into the new 401k. So all of these things are completely, um, you know, portable
Hmm.
into something else. I wouldn't even leave it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Hey, when you describe it, it just sounds, I'm scared to use the word simple because we've been beating the crap out of that word for the past 20 minutes or so, but it sounds so. I mean, I guess what's a circumstance can you imagine where you would say to a client, you know what, not a 401k yet, maybe if ever.
If you were a true solo,
Okay.
and I have run into a couple of doctors over the years who are truly on their own. They have no employees, and they're just sort of contracting out their services.
Okay.
They're making so much money that maxing out the SEP IRA as a percentage of your income isn't an issue.
Okay.
So maybe that person, fine, keep the SEP.
Okay.
If um, if you're not making over that, say, 350 grand that you have to make to max out your SEP,
Hmm.
right? What if you're making, I say only, what if you're
Yeah.
making 250,000
Hmm.
and you say, well, I could save 70 grand a year. Well, you can't do that on a SEP because it's percentage based. So now
Mm,
we have to move to the 401k. So I suppose if you're in that exact perfect space, then you could choose to go maybe the easier route with the SEP.
okay.
But once you're a practice owner, you're going to have employees. You're going to want something to attract
Yeah.
employees and possibly retain employees. And a simple or a SEP just isn't going to do that the
Not
same way
going
a
to do it.
401k will.
Yeah. And so let's just come back to state mandated plans. So we're in
Yeah.
Illinois. I'm not subject to this. We are not, but it's something like a minimum of 5 employees or something. I remember when they were rolling it out, like if you don't do this, the penalties are steep. Like they want you to do this. It's like
Right.
you wouldn't look at this and go, oh, I'll just pay the penalty. You don't want to do that. Like at least in our state's case.
No. And again, this is out now in at least 20 states,
Yeah.
maybe a few more.
And I think in Illinois, they're like, we've got I'll call it a public option. You don't have to use that.
Right.
You have to have something that checks whatever the boxes are.
Yeah. And there's still an administrative burden. You
Hmm.
still have to tell your employees that this is available. You still have to deliver the paperwork to them.
Hmm.
You know, if you're at that level, most of your employees are going to opt out anyway.
Hmm.
And the fines are onerous. I remember when these things were coming out, a
It's
lot
like
of people,
500 per employee per day or something. It was really, I was like,
it's something ridiculous.
I would,
And,
I,
and
I wouldn't wait, but yeah.
right, and every state is different. But I can remember some people who are really against this were kind of puffing their chests and saying, "Oh, I'd rather pay the fine than give anything to the state." And
Hmm.
yeah, until that, until
Yeah.
those final regs came through,
Hmm.
and you realized how much it was really going to cost you.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's anything that's going to attract or retain a
Yeah.
quality employee.
Hmm.
And I think, you know, I think that there are certain industries that lend itself to having just sort of a low level rank and file employee to do a task.
Hmm.
I think in your medical or dental practice, I think you want top quality people there,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Because they, you know, you are the practice, you
Hmm.
are your own brand, and they are your representatives. You
Right.
want people who are going to demand more.
Right. And I think in Illinois it was we have an offering at the state. You don't have to have ours, but if you don't want another one, you
Yeah,
can use ours. So you can get your own 401k. You can get it,
right.
as long as it meets the requirements. So I don't know what other states are doing. You would hope it'd be similar if they're going to require it, but
I'm sure they're all similar, but I don't know the rules for 20
right.
some different states, you know,
Right.
or what's being talked about in the other 25.
Correct. Correct. Um, so we've hit a good amount. I mean, it's you really boiled it down pretty nicely. Is there anything we missed, you think?
Well, I think if if you are starting a practice
Hmm.
or if you haven't offered a retirement plan,
Hmm.
or maybe you're still maybe on that old simple plan that really got more complicated, you know, starting with that Secure Act 2.0. That's when a lot of these changes were made.
Hmm.
So it's just in the last years and you're pulling your hair out.
Hmm.
Take a look at the 401k.
Hmm.
The costs have come down dramatically.
Okay.
The cost of administration. I recommend that everybody have a third party administrator, a TPA,
EPA, yeah.
for their plan. You don't want to be the one tracking somebody's eligibility and proving in your file
Yeah.
that doesn't exist that you delivered the paperwork to your employee on the correct day.
Right.
Have a TPA do it.
Hmm.
And there are TPAs, there are record keepers, right? Who the actual company you log on
This
to
is who
see the
you would
investments,
outsource this to, right? I mean, they would handle
you
that's their job.
outsource this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So you need an advisor on the plan, whether that's me or somebody else. You need an advisor who's going to help.
Hmm.
You need the 401k company, the record keeper who you log on to see the investments. You need a third party administrator.
Hmm.
And above and beyond that, there are certain fiduciary roles that the TPAs will also cover.
Hmm.
And that mitigates your exposure as the employer offering this plan.
Yeah.
And it can be done very inexpensively. And now, once we're in the 401k profit sharing world, you can have a much different, more simple matching schedule,
Hmm.
right? My employees have to have skin in the game. They have to put some money in, and then I match it.
Hmm.
There are new rules about the old safe harbor. Some people said, well, I have to give my employees 3% whether they do anything or not, and I don't like that. That's not the case anymore.
Mm.
There are different safe harbor that require the employee to put something in
Okay.
before you put something in.
Okay.
We have very limited vesting schedules on those matches, even
Okay.
on the safe harbor match that didn't used to exist. So now
Okay.
we have a retention tool. Hey, you can get hired here. We can put some money in, but if you leave too soon, you don't get
Right.
to take what we gave you,
Correct. Yep.
right? Then you have the profit sharing component.
Hmm.
And instead of stay in the SEP IRA world where if you wanted to save 20% of your income, you had to give everybody else 20%, all right? We can cherry pick inside this plan within the guardrails, right? That the
Sure.
Department of Labor sets up and the tax code sets up. But within those guardrails are a wide swath where we can really skew the benefits to you, the practice owner,
Hmm.
and have the minimum required be much lower than you ever would think it would be,
Hmm.
that you have to give the employees.
Hmm.
And then if you want to give the employees more, of course, you can do that,
Hmm.
within that plan. But the requirement can be low and we can really skew those. And then if you wanted to add a defined benefit plan, right, we can skew those numbers all over
Sure.
again.
Okay.
So even though it may add what seems like some administrative complexity, we can offload that to somebody else. We can
Hmm.
hire somebody to take on that complexity and instead start making this a true benefit for the business owner, for the
Hmm.
practice owner.
Hmm.
Let's make this a benefit for the doctor. Let's make this a retention tool to keep those employees in place.
Hmm.
And let's make it something that we can actually reward our employees for their good work and good behavior and their loyalty.
Right.
And that's where I really think the 401k shines, is we can accomplish all of that.
What's your opinion on the Roth 401k?
Yeah, it's one, you're going to have it in your plan, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
some rules have changed.
Okay.
And so catch up contributions, if you make over a certain amount, have to go to the Roth side. It's another way for you to get money into a Roth account
Hmm.
where otherwise it's a little bit more difficult for our high income earning doctors.
Right. Okay.
But again, for absolutely zero cost to you,
Hmm.
on top of whatever the plan costs anyway,
Hmm.
you would have a traditional pre-tax 401k option. You have a Roth option. And your employees can log onto a website and say, send 5% of my check here, send 5% of my check there.
Oh, okay.
And, log on the next month and switch it if they want, right? They should have that Roth component.
Got it.
And it's going to be required anyway.
Okay. Um, do you like, just from like an investment strategy point of view, do you favor one versus the other? Do you think one's better than the other, or it just sort of depends?
Like Roth versus pre-tax,
Yeah.
I think you're going to need money in both.
Okay.
So typically, as somebody, this is a deeper planning discussion, but typically the old story was somebody comes to retirement and they've got this gigantic pre-tax 401k and it's
Hmm.
grown tax deferred.
Hmm.
Every penny that comes out of there is going to be taxed at ordinary income rates, just
Hmm.
like you went to work and earned it.
Hmm.
And if you don't want that money, it doesn't matter. You hit a certain age,
Yeah. Take it anyway. Yeah.
you have to take it. You've got a required minimum distribution.
Hmm.
So you have this huge looming tax bill. What are tax brackets going to be in the future? Right? We don't
Nobody
know.
knows. Yeah.
They could go up, right? A lot of times what we see is we see tax bracket compression
Hmm.
to where, hey, I'm making the same amount of money as I used to, but the tax brackets haven't really kept up with inflation. And all of a
Hmm.
sudden, where I was a 24% tax bracket payer, now I'm in the 35,
Hmm.
um, we have no idea. It's impossible to plan around. So I think
Hmm.
it makes sense to have pre-tax money. One, because most of our clients, Carl, are in that highest marginal tax
Right.
bracket for a good
Right.
portion of the year,
Right.
right? We could get rid of some of that money. It makes sense to have some Roth money because we've already paid the taxes and you don't ever have to worry about it again. And there's
Right.
value in that.
Right. Okay. Where should somebody get started? We just sort of laid a lot out here, but
Right,
the
right.
context is, um, you've caught their attention. Drew's right. We need to do something, change something. Where should they get started? They just don't know where to start. So what would you recommend?
Yeah, I think you should call an advisor.
Mm,
I'd love that to be me.
obviously,
There's
yeah.
plenty of other advisors, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's working with somebody. Call your advisor, find
Hmm.
out the options.
Hmm.
Start getting, put together an employee census, which you probably already have for some other benefits or for something along the way.
Hmm.
Put that together and start getting some quotes.
Hmm.
How much would a 401k profit sharing plan cost?
Hmm.
Both on a kind of a per participant and what are my annual costs, and just figure out if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Have them run something of an illustration showing, here, you want to max out the plan for yourself, and then what would you be required to put in for your employees based on their earnings and
Yeah.
ages and all of that kind of stuff. So I would start, work with an advisor, get some quotes.
Yeah. And I like the questions you had earlier. What's the goal for you, the owner,
Hmm.
wealth building, tax advantage, probably the two biggies. What
Right.
about for your employees? It's retention, rewarding with some
Yeah.
flexibility.
Hmm.
So, because then you could start to play with, if you've got those in mind, because any schedule or whatever anybody puts in front of you, it's going to be nice looking numbers, but they lack context. And so for me,
Right.
mine's like, all right, what am I trying to accomplish with this thing
Yep.
for me and for the practice? So I like that. Good. Drew, thank you. We
Thank you.
when it's like, well, 401k, that just makes the episode a lot simpler. Simple is not simple. This is what I learned. Simple is not simple. SEP is SEP. And 401k sounds like it's like the way to go. So thank you for coming on and clearing this all up. Maybe just for me. I don't know.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And I've got contact information for you. So that's going to go into the show notes for this episode. If you want to get a hold of Drew, you can check that out, that outlet out as well. Two quick points before wrapping up. First, subscribe to Practice Care, a new episode every week, over 200 out, more on the way. If you want to stay up to date with what they are in an easy way, just subscribe. And finally, if you're like Drew or us and you serve private practice owners or you're one yourself, either way, you've got some experience on the business side of private practice, whatever it might be, you might think it's boring and who would care? I promise you, others are struggling with it. So if it's any idea at all, in the show notes to every episode, there's a link, a couple of clicks. Tell us what's on your mind. We'll get you scheduled as soon as possible. Thanks very much, and until next time.